What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Math with Mr. G. Hopefully, you had as much fun as possible during the spring break with everything that's going on, and hopefully, you are ready for some more math and you're excited to move on to the next section as much as I am. If you're in algebra, that means we are now moving on from reading and graphing inequalities to now solving for inequalities. If you are in 8th grade, that means we're moving from equations with rational coefficients or one-step equations to two-step equations. And if you're in 7th grade, that means we are moving now from the percent equation to percent of change. If there are any concepts that you feel you need to have some review to refresh, feel free to check out any other videos on the channel. If there's some material that you would like to review but is not on the channel, by all means let me know and I will be more than happy to make that for you. So without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, 8th graders. This week we are covering a section titled Solving Two-Step Equations. As the title suggests, your problems are going to require you to do two steps in order to solve. Two-step equations, and I'm just going to abbreviate that. Solving two-step equations. So what does that mean? Up until this point, we have seen equations in the form of 2a equals 10 or b plus 5 equals 30 or c over 2 is equal to 16 or d minus 3 is equal to 12. All of these are what we call simple equations because they simply require one step to solve. And you might remember, whenever you see a variable, this is what you are solving for, what you want to do is identify the operation that's taking place and simply complete the opposite in order to isolate and solve. So R2 here is acting as a coefficient and you would normally just divide. This will cancel out and you are left with a is equal to 5. And in one step you are done. Over here we have addition, so you want to do the opposite, which is subtraction. Minus 5 cancels out. B equals 25. Okay, again, all of these examples of what we call simple equations because it's just one step. C is being divided by 2, so you want to multiply by 2. Multiply by 2, and you are left with C is equal to 32. Last example, you have a subtraction, so to solve you want to add. Plus 3 cancels out. D is equal to 15. If that was too fast, please let me know for next time to make sure I do it a little slow. I only sped through it because again, it is my understanding that this is review. You've seen this before, and so it should not be too confusing, but if I am mistaken, again, please let me know. Okay, so now, in this section, what you are going to do is combine all of the principles that you just saw to solve for two-step equations. What is an example of a two-step equation? Let's look at this one for example. Let's say we have 2x plus 10 is equal to 20. Okay, in this case, we still have a single variable, which is x, only now there are two operations taking place. We have this 2, which is a coefficient of x, which is multiplying it. I'll just put the multiplication dot. And we have this 10 over here, that is adding. Why is that significant? In this lesson, whenever you have a problem that looks like this, you have a variable with a coefficient, that means that you are multiplying. Any problem involving multiplication, you want to get rid of the addition or subtraction first. Okay, so this is what that would look like. In order to isolate this term over here, first you want to get rid of what we have over here by doing the opposite. In this section, that is what you always need to remember. Do the opposite. You have a plus 10, you want to get rid of a plus 10, get rid of it with a minus 10. And again, this is already algebra, which means whatever you do on one side of the equal sign, you also want to do on the other. Minus 10. This will cancel out, and you are left with 2x is equal to 20 minus 10, which is just 10. Now you have an equation that looks very similar to the ones we have been seeing in the last couple of weeks. A simple equation, simply get rid of it by dividing. Divide by 2 and divide by 2. Why am I dividing by 2 again? Whenever you have a number in front of your variable, this is called the coefficient, it is multiplying. You want to get rid of multiplication, you do the opposite, which is division. This is going to cancel out and you are left with x is equal to 5. Okay? Let's do another example. Let's say we have 3y minus 15 is equal to 15. Okay? We still have a single variable over here. We have a coefficient, which means multiplication, and then we have the minus 15 over here. Again, this is a term that we want to isolate, and because there's multiplication taking place, we want to do that last. So we want to get rid of this negative 15. How do you get rid of a negative 15? With a plus 15. Plus 15 plus 15. That is going to cancel out, leaving you with 3y is equal to 30. Final step. Again, the coefficient is multiplying my variable, and if I want my variable alone, I need to divide. Divide by 3 and divide by 3, producing a final answer of y is equal to 10. However, what would happen if instead you are looking at a problem involving division? Let's say we have instead a plus 2 over 5 is equal to 12. Okay. In this case, again, we have a single variable, only now there is no coefficient. Nothing in front of it, nothing is multiplying it. We have our plus 2 over here, and then we have this 5 over here that's actually dividing all of this. Because our variable is up here, we want to get rid of this last, we want to solve this last, meaning the first thing you want to target or get rid of is this 5. In order to do that, you need to identify what the 5 is doing. Whenever you see a fraction, always remember division is taking place. You want to get rid of a division, do the opposite, which is multiplication. Multiply by 5 and multiply by 5. This is going to cancel this out, leaving you only with your numerator, or in this case, a plus 2 is going to equal 12 times 5, which is 60. Again, if done correctly, you are now left with what looks like a simple equation. Simply complete the last step, the last inverse operation, and you will solve. You have a plus 2. How do you get rid of a plus 2? With a minus 2. Minus 2 and minus 2 cancels out. Final answer, a is equal to 58. Let's do one more example involving division. Let's say we have b minus 2. Let's use a different number. B minus 4 over 3 is going to equal 5. Okay? Once again, we have a single variable over here. We have our minus over here. And we have this 3 over here that's dividing. Because our variable is over here, we want to save this for last, meaning the first thing you need to eliminate is this 3 that's dividing this whole term up here. How do you eliminate a division of 3? You multiply by 3. Multiply by 3. Multiply by 3. This is going to cancel out, isolating this term in your numerator, leaving you with b minus 4 is equal to, complete your multiplication, 5 times 3 is going to equal 15. Finally, as we have been doing in this section, get rid of minus 4 by doing the inverse or the opposite, which is plus 4. Plus 4, and you are done. B is equal to 19. So let's recap. What do we need to do in this section? First and foremost, let me see if I can make the pen smaller. The first thing, you want to identify your variable. Okay, this might seem like common sense, but there is no harm in writing it down so you can have as much information readily accessible for when you are doing your homework. After you have identified your variable, what you want to do, you want to identify operations taking place. And I'm going to abbreviate that, taking place. Recall, this section is titled Solving Two-Step Equations, meaning you need to identify two operations. If you only see one, revisit it, you are making a mistake. Okay? In order for you to have two steps, there needs to be two operations present, because your next step would be identify and complete the inverses. Okay? So remember, there are four basic operations in math: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Multiplication and division are inverses, or opposites, as are addition and subtraction. The final step, if necessary, is going to be to simplify. Okay? In a nutshell, this is what your section is going to look like. Hopefully this video will be helpful for you when you are doing your homework. If there's anything that I might have missed that you remember from the lesson, or anything that still remains unclear when you're doing your homework, please let me know in class. Feel free to send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to continue making more material to help you out with your studies. Excuse me. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.